Resident Evil Apocalypse, the second of the live action films based on, of course, the beloved Resident Evil video game franchise. One interesting thing to note about Apocalypse is, even though I don't think it's a great film, it is by far the second best of the live action films. Though that's not saying much versus the future sequels. Which next year I will get into my issues with Resident Evil Extinction. But for this year is Resident Evil Apocalypse, the first of the sequels. Obviously, it is sort of a weird mishmash story-wise and elements, as it takes things from both Resident Evil 2 game as well as Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. As for one, it would use the character Jill Valentine, which obviously based on and given Nemesis, of course, being the key thing to Resident Evil 3 game. But with that said, um, my three biggest pet peeves with this film first is the betrayal of Jill Valentine, the character. Not a big fan. I mean, the actress they chose to play her. I mean, she was the she at least somewhat looks like some, I guess I could see, though really she should have brown hair, not black hair, but that's a nitpick. But overall, just in general, how they portrayed the character in the movie is one of my biggest issues with Apocalypse. Um, Second of the three key issues I have with this film is really the betrayal and everything of the actual character, Nemesis. Because it's flat out stupid. At least they got the stars and all that stuff. But given if you watch the first film, you know how Nemesis comes to be was in the film a regular guy originally before getting infected with like the G virus. Um, well, I guess technically I have four nitpicks. Nitpick number three. Other than the first two, how the betrayal of Nemesis and Jill Valentine. Issue number three I have is the fact, really, the police station plays absolutely, really no role, for the most part, in the actual movie. Which is messed up, because about 70% of the Resident Evil 2 game takes place in the police station, obviously. And then, like, the last quarter or so takes place in the underground, like, of course, things of Umbrella. Um, in the movie, of course, better known as The Hive. But with that said, also, the biggest nitpick number four. The fact they made up some new character, basically, in general, that created the T virus and everything. And they don't even mention William Birkin, the key character to Resident Evil 2, and arguably one of the most important integral characters to the actual early era of the Resident Evil game franchise as a whole. William Birkin is nowhere to be seen or really mentioned. They only mention like William Birkin movies later, and they didn't treat him as a key important character or figure as he should be, because basically that's what Resident Evil 2 is based around, is the character of William Birkin, the one, basically the one who created the G virus and played a key role in obviously the T virus as well. But the key is, and the fact in this film you have a little girl character, obviously supposed to be based around the daughter of William Birkin from Resident Evil 2 game, but does not play any, or rather, basically, they just renamed her and stuff, and is the daughter of the creator of the T virus and stuff in this film. And that is some of my biggest stuff. Like I mentioned, also with the police mention the fact also it played a key role in the first like quarter of Resident Evil 3 Nemesis game as well, as Nemesis would constantly chase you through the police station like about three different times. You would have to fight and run away from Nemesis. So the thing is, some of these key most important things for me personally with Resident Evil Apocalypse are some of the biggest, and I gave you right there 4 key issues I have with the film. Overall, as a more action based movie, it's okay as a mindless action film. As a Resident Evil movie, it's not great. Yes, I mean, at least Nemesis looks the part and stuff, but because of that stupid character, Alice, ruins the entire experience, and they basically turn Jill and Valentine to a joke just to make Alice look better. Like, I get it. The actress who played the key role of the main character throughout the movies, which had nothing to do and didn't exist in the actual game, uh, is the wife of, obviously, the director who directed the films. I get it. He wanted to make his wife look better because what better way, I guess, great way of sucking up to be your wife. But with that said, you're supposed to keep the key when you're basing an adaptation off of a beloved game, especially early first few games, very beloved. You can't just treat it like a run of the mill franchise like it was. There are some at least redeeming qualities in Resident Evil Apocalypse. It's not like most of the next sequels. It still has something at least, and the soundtrack also is great. For me overall, though, I have to give Resident Evil Apocalypse as a movie, looking at more as an adaptation and stuff. Still, at the end of the day, there are a few things here and there I actually appreciate that at least gives a tiny bit of a Resident Evil feel, not a great amount, unfortunately, as an adaptation. Overall, I give Resident Evil Apocalypse, like the first Resident Evil film, I believe I give like a 9.5 to a 10 out of 10. For me, Resident Evil Apocalypse, I can't give it any higher at max than a 7 out of 10 at best. So, yeah. Or, if we're going in my grading scales, I give Resident Evil Apocalypse, I give it probably between a C plus and a B minus. And we'll round off and say I give it a B minus rating. So, with that said, I'll see y'all next time. Same time, same YouTube channel, and we'll talk about future Resident Evil movies. Next year, we will discuss Resident Evil Extinction. So, with that said, I'll see y'all next time. Have a good, safe, and happy Halloween. See you soon enough, and if you're curious about the music in the background today, it is from the game Bloodborne. So with that said, I'll see y'all soon enough.